The Young and the Restless spoilers. The dark scheme surrounding Jack Abbott was never meant to be revealed so quickly, yet fate often has a way of tearing apart even the most carefully constructed plans. Victor Newman had designed the operation with his usual cold precision. Every step had been calculated, every participant carefully selected to ensure that Jack would not survive the trap laid for him. Patty Williams was never supposed to become an obstacle to the plan. In Victor's mind, she was the perfect instrument, unstable enough to follow dangerous instructions, obsessed enough with Jack to remain close to him, and desperate enough for approval that she would do almost anything to feel useful. Victor believed he understood Patty's mind completely. What he failed to understand was the one element that no strategist can fully control: emotion. Patty had been brought into the plan with a clear and brutal purpose. Victor wanted Jack eliminated quietly, without the kind of chaos that a public confrontation would create. The plan was simple in theory. Patty would remain close to Jack during his captivity and slowly poison him with a substance that would make his death appear natural. Victor believed the arrangement would protect him from suspicion while ensuring that one of his longest-standing rivals would finally disappear. For Patty, however, the reality of carrying out that order became far more complicated than Victor anticipated. Every moment she spent near Jack forced her to confront the feelings she had never been able to bury. Her obsession with him had always been dangerous, but it had also been deeply genuine in its own twisted way. Watching Jack struggle in captivity, seeing the exhaustion in his eyes and the quiet determination that refused to fade even in the face of danger, began to erode the resolve Victor expected from her. The moment of truth arrived when Patty realized she could no longer continue the deception. Instead of following Victor's instructions, she broke down emotionally in front of Jack. Her voice trembled as she confessed everything she had been hiding. Patty admitted that Victor had brought her into the scheme with the explicit goal of poisoning him. She described the plan in painful detail, explaining how Victor had expected her to slowly weaken Jack until his death appeared inevitable and untraceable. The confession was not calm or controlled. Patty cried openly as she spoke, overwhelmed by the guilt of what she had nearly done. Jack listened in stunned silence as the truth unfolded. He had suspected Victor might be involved in his disappearance, but hearing confirmation that Victor intended to kill him still felt like a brutal shock. For a moment, Jack struggled to understand whether Patty's confession was another manipulation or a genuine attempt to change course. Yet the sincerity in Patty's breakdown was difficult to ignore. She had not only refused to poison him, but had chosen to expose Victor's plan entirely. Patty insisted that she could not follow through with something that would destroy the man she had spent years obsessing over. Her feelings for Jack, no matter how chaotic or unhealthy they had been in the past, ultimately prevented her from becoming Victor's executioner. In that moment, the dynamic between them shifted dramatically. Patty was no longer merely a pawn in Victor's game. She was now the one person capable of revealing the full scope of his plot. For Jack, the realization came with both relief and caution. If Patty was telling the truth, then Victor had gone further than ever before in his war against the Abbotts. Patty's decision also created a new and unexpected alliance. She told Jack that she wanted to help him bring Victor down. Her voice carried a strange mixture of desperation and determination as she explained that exposing Victor's plan would be the only way to free herself from the control he had held over her. Patty understood that Victor would never forgive her betrayal once he discovered the truth. By choosing to protect Jack, she had effectively declared war on the most powerful man in Genoa City. Jack recognized the seriousness of that decision. If Patty truly intended to help him, then the two of them would have to move carefully. Victor Newman was not the kind of enemy who accepted defeat quietly. Meanwhile, Victor quickly realized that something had changed. The silence from Patty was the first warning sign that his carefully arranged plan had begun to unravel. Victor had always prided himself on controlling every detail of his operations, and the sudden disruption of communication triggered a deep surge of anger. When he finally confirmed that Patty had disobeyed his orders. His reaction was immediate and ruthless. Victor viewed betrayal as the ultimate offense, and Patty's refusal to follow through with the poisoning was more than just disobedience. It was a direct challenge to his authority. His anger was not loud or theatrical. Instead, it manifested in the cold, calculating way that had made him one of the most feared figures in Genoa City. Victor made it clear to those around him that Patty would face consequences for what she had done. In his mind, forgiveness was not an option. But even Victor's threat of punishment was not the end of the tension surrounding the situation. The moment Patty chose to stand against him created a new uncertainty that Victor had not anticipated. For decades he had built his reputation on the belief that he could predict the behavior of everyone around him. Yet Patty's emotional decision introduced an unpredictable element into the equation. Victor knew that a desperate ally could be more dangerous than a controlled enemy. If Patty and Jack managed to combine their knowledge of his plan, they could potentially expose actions that Victor had carefully hidden from the public eye. As the pressure continued to build, the fragile alliance between Jack and Patty began to show cracks of its own. Their relationship had always been complicated by years of obsession, betrayal, and emotional instability. Even with Patty claiming she wanted to help him, Jack could not fully silence the doubts in his mind. Trusting Patty required a leap of faith that he was not entirely prepared to make. At the same time, Patty struggled with the conflicting emotions that had always defined her connection to Jack. She wanted to prove her loyalty to him, but her history of unstable behavior continued to haunt every interaction between them. This tension eventually exploded into a dramatic confrontation between the two of them. The argument was fueled by frustration, fear, and the lingering scars of their past. Jack demanded clarity, insisting that Patty prove her commitment if she truly intended to help him defeat Victor. Patty, already emotionally fragile, reacted defensively to the accusations. The situation escalated quickly as both of them pushed each other to the edge. For a moment it seemed as if the fragile alliance they had formed might collapse entirely. In the heat of the confrontation, their anger turned physical as they struggled against one another, each trying to regain control of the situation. Yet even in that moment of chaos, the deeper truth remained impossible to ignore. They were both trapped in the same dangerous game. Victor Newman had set the pieces in motion, believing that no one would dare stand against him. Now, the very people he expected to manipulate had begun to rebel. The confrontation between Jack and Patty revealed just how unstable their alliance was, but it also confirmed something even more significant. The real question now hung over Genoa City like a gathering storm. Victor Newman had spent his entire life mastering the art of power and manipulation. But was he truly as invincible as he believed Patty's betrayal had already disrupted one of his most carefully designed plans? Jack had survived when he was supposed to die, and the fragile partnership between two unlikely allies had begun to form in the shadows. Victor Newman was many things: strategist, empire builder, and ruthless adversary, but he had never been a simple opponent. The war that was beginning to take shape would not end with a single confrontation. It would unfold slowly through deception, retaliation, and unexpected alliances. And if Jack and Patty hoped to defeat him, they would soon discover that challenging Victor Newman meant stepping into a battle far more dangerous than either of them had imagined.